Have you ever, like, just looked around at your smartphone or, I don't know, read about spaceships and medical miracles and just wondered, if we are so incredibly smart, why do we keep making the exact same destructive mistakes?
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty much the ultimate contradiction of the human condition. I mean, we can split the atom, right?
Right.
We can map the human genome, code these insane AI models to diagnose diseases, but then we still, operate with the exact same tribal hostility and greed that defined us like 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, it's wild. And that's exactly what we're getting into today. We're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating dialogue from a source called Time Traveler's Paradox.
Right.
It's a conversation between these two thinkers, Maya and Nick, and they try to unravel this exact tension.
It's a great source.
It really is. They point out that this massive glaring gap between humanity's technological evolution and our psychological stagnation, it isn't just some philosophical quirk. It's basically the defining crisis of our species right now.
Yeah, because the core tension here is that we are a species that has mastered the physical world in ways that, frankly, our ancestors would consider absolute
Oh,
magic.
totally. Like wizardry.
Exactly. Yet, our internal world, like how we handle conflict, fear, and power, that has just completely flatlined. I mean, we are upgrading the world around us exponentially, but the human operating system remains effectively unchanged.
And I want to make sure you, the listener, know this won't just be some doom and gloom session. It's actually a really incredible aha journey into how our brains actually work and how we define progress.
Definitely. It's more of a reality check than anything.
Yeah. So Maya makes this observation right at the start that sets the baseline for the entire problem. She points out that human beings are undeniably becoming more capable.
Unquestionably.
We have, quantum computers that process in seconds what used to take decades. We have instant global communication networks, telescopes peering at the very edge of the observable universe.
The sheer scale of our technological capability is just breathtaking. But Maya immediately contrasts that physical mastery with our psychological reality.
Right, the dark side of it.
Yeah, because despite all of this shiny new technology, what hasn't disappeared, we still have systemic corruption. We still engage in territorial warfare.
Yeah, hatred, greed, injustice, none of that has been cured by a faster microchip, or like a more efficient supply chain.
Exactly, which forces us to confront this really highly uncomfortable reality. Having a smarter phone does not make you a wiser person.
No, it really.
But the person behind the wheel has no concept of the speed limit, no understanding of how momentum works, and honestly, no idea what the pedals actually do.
So if the car isn't the problem, I mean, if the car's doing exactly what it was engineered to do, then the crisis happens when the driver's ability completely fails to match the engine's power.
Exactly.
If we just keep building bigger and bigger engines, but we never bother to teach the driver how to steer, a catastrophic crash isn't just a possibility, it's an inevitability.
And Nick argues that we constantly confuse two very different types of progress because of this. We confuse the progress of our tools with the progress of ourselves.
Yeah, that's a huge distinction.
It is. Every single generation builds better machines. That's just an observable, empirical fact. But we assume that because our machines are better, we are somehow inherently better.
And we aren't.
No, we aren't. We are literally just holding more dangerous tools.
Okay, so if we're going to figure out why the driver is so inexperienced, we kind of have to look at the hardware of the driver, right? We have to look at the neuroscience.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Because Nick points out that our brains are still running on ancient survival circuits.
Right, the biology hasn't caught up.
Not even close. He specifically points to two neurological mechanisms. First, the amygdala, which is our brain's threat detection and fear center. And second, the dopamine system, which drives our pursuit of reward, status, and dominance.
And those didn't evolve for the 21st century.
No, they evolved hundreds of thousands of years ago for a world of small, tight-knit tribes. They were built for immediate physical environments.
Let's actually look at how the amygdala functions, because I think this is crucial. In a hunter-gatherer environment, the amygdala is basically a low-latency, high-error system.
Right, shoot first, ask questions later.
Exactly. If you see a rustle in the bushes, the amygdala bypasses your logical prefrontal cortex and just screams at you to run. It doesn't pause to analyze if it's just the wind.
Because pausing to philosophize about a rustling bush got our ancestors eaten.
Right. It assumes it's a predator. That instant reactionary fear was a literal biological imperative. It kept us alive.
And the exact same logic applies to the dopamine system. Dopamine isn't just about experiencing pleasure, like a lot of people think. It is fundamentally a foraging and status-seeking mechanism.
Wait, status seeking?
Yeah.
Hmm.
In a tribe of, say, 50 people, your social status determined your access to food, shelter, and mates. Seeking dominance and constantly comparing your social standing to others was literal how you ensured your genes survived to the next generation.
Okay, so the problem is that these deep-seated biological mechanisms are now interacting with an environment they were never designed to process.
Precisely. Think about social media. Every time you pull to refresh a feed, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. It's the exact same chemical reward our ancestors got when they found a rare berry bush.
Oh, wow. So tech companies are intentionally exploiting this ancient foraging mechanism to just keep you scrolling.
Yep. They trap you in a dopamine loop that ultimately leaves you anxious and addicted, but your brain thinks it's surviving.
And look at how modern technology hijacks the amygdala, too. We are taking a brain that's optimized to survive a localized physical threat, like a tiger, and we are flooding it with a 247 global news cycle of existential crises.
It's completely overwhelming the hardware. The amygdala cannot differentiate between a saber-toothed tiger in the room and a terrifying headline about a war happening 5,000 miles away.
It just reacts with the exact same cortisol-pumping panic.
Exactly.
So Nick introduces this phrase in the deep dive that just blew my mind. He says we are running Paleolithic software on modern hardware.
It's the perfect way to describe it. We are effectively a legacy operating system being forced to run quantum computing software. The brain just crashes. It simply doesn't have the architecture to process the inputs.
So we are putting a brain that is hardwired for tribalism, instant fear reactions, and stats accession in charge of, well, intercontinental ballistic missiles, artificial intelligence, and global economic markets.
Sounds like a great plan, doesn't it?
But wait, let me challenge you on this, right? I guess challenge Nick and Maya. If evolution is the root of the problem, aren't you essentially saying humanity is a lost cause?
How do you mean?
Well, if our brains are literally hardwired for tribalism and immediate survival, and we literally cannot upgrade our biological hardware fast enough, is it even fair to expect us to safely handle modern tech? Like, are we just doomed to destroy ourselves the moment our technology gets powerful enough?
Yeah, that is the existential question Nick and Maya are circling throughout the whole dialogue. And if you look at it purely from a biological determinism standpoint, it looks really bleak.
Because evolution is so slow.
Right. Biological evolution moves at a glacial pace. We are not going to organically evolve a less reactive amygdala in the next 10,000 years, let alone the next 10 years.
So what's the way out?
Well, humanity isn't entirely beholden to its biology, right? Because we have the capacity to build external systems of restraint. We have the capacity for wisdom.
Okay, wisdom. But those external systems of restraint feel incredibly fragile right now. If our internal hardware is primitive, we really have to look closely at how that primitive brain interacts with the tools we create.
And that leads into Maya's profound historical lesson in the dialogue. She points out that technology itself has zero morality. It is entirely agnostic.
Right, a machine doesn't have a conscience.
Exactly. A piece of technology does not care how it is used. It simply amplifies the intentions of the person holding it.
It reminds me of the classic example of a knife. The knife possesses no inherent moral compass whatsoever.
Right.
In the hands of a surgeon or a chef, it's a tool for healing or creating a meal. But in the hands of a murderer, it becomes a deadly weapon. The tool remains exactly the same. The only variable that shifts is the intention of the user.
And as technology advances, the scale of that amplification grows exponentially. Maya uses electricity to demonstrate this, which I thought was brilliant.
Oh yeah, because electricity is a completely amoral force.
Yes. It can light up a hospital, power a city, keep premature babies alive in incubators, or it can be completely weaponized to destroy that exact same city.
Now take that amplification and apply it to artificial intelligence. I mean, an AI model can accelerate medical discoveries, mapping complex proteins in minutes to find cures for diseases that have plagued us for centuries.
Which is incredible.
It is. But then that exact same AI architecture can be used to generate hyper-realistic deepfakes, amplify mass misinformation, and just completely destabilize a democratic election.
And this is where Maya draws a very sharp, very important line between knowledge and wisdom.
Break that down for us.
So knowledge answers the question, what can we do? Knowledge is the mechanical process of building the machine. Wisdom, on the other hand, answers the question, what should we do?
Oh, okay.
Wisdom is the moral framework that decides whether the machine should even be built in the first place, and if it is, how its power should be restrained.
And if you look at how society balances those two concepts, It's kind of terrifying. Think about it. We invest trillions of dollars globally into expanding our
Those
capabilities. We
trillion.
build faster servers, more autonomous drones, highly complex financial algorithms. We pour endless resources into the can.
But compare that to the resources we invest in expanding our conscience, into studying the ethical implications of these tools before we deploy them. It is almost non-existent.
It's a devastating imbalance. I mean, think about your own life, right? When was the last time you, the listener, paused to ask if you should use a piece of tech you already have access to? We just adopt things because they're there.
Because they're efficient or
Yeah.
profitable, yeah? We operate almost entirely devoid of restraint. We never pause to ask how these technologies alter our behavior or if we possess the maturity to actually manage their side effects.
So that brings up a massive question. If wisdom is literally the only mechanism that can prevent our primitive brains from misusing our advanced tools, why isn't society prioritizing it?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. If we know this is the bottleneck for human survival, why is it completely absent from our cultural focus?
Nick directs this critique straight at how we educate ourselves. He points out that our modern educational and societal systems are exceptionally good at producing cleverness.
Cleverness, not wisdom.
Exactly. We have mastered the art of vocational and technical training. We can download vast amounts of specialized information into a human brain to produce brilliant engineers, talented lawyers, and wildly successful entrepreneurs.
If cleverness is just the ability to manipulate systems for a desired outcome.
Right. And Nick contrasts those specialized, clever achievements with what is entirely missing from the human curriculum.
Like what?
Well, we teach a computer science student how to write an algorithm that maximizes user engagement, right? But we don't teach them how to recognize the societal damage of exploiting a dopamine loop.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we don't teach people how to investigate their own anger or how to recognize manipulation.
Exactly. We don't teach students how to question their deep-seated cognitive biases or how to cooperate across profound ideological divides. We teach them how to be confident, but we rarely teach them how to remain humble while acquiring knowledge.
Or how to distinguish mere confidence from actual objective truth.
Yes, exactly. And Nick brings up the philosophical concept of the blank slate theory here to explain why this omission in our education is just so dangerous.
The blank slate theory. Basically that humans are not born with innate moral frameworks, right?
Right. While we are born with the biological hardware, the amygdala, the fear responses, the actual software of wisdom and ethical reasoning has to be written from scratch for every single person.
So you don't just naturally grow into a wise person simply by aging.
No, not at all. Wisdom is not a biological default. It must be actively, deliberately cultivated. If an educational system only writes cleverness and efficiency onto that blank slate, the moral framework remains completely empty.
And I had a real aha moment reading Maya's observation on the speed of all this. Because information can be downloaded in seconds. You can Google a complex equation or query an AI model and get an answer instantly.
Cleverness scales rapidly.
Right. But wisdom defies speed. It takes a lifetime. It takes reflection, failure, suffering, and just conscious effort to build. You cannot biohack or speedrun wisdom.
Which perfectly explains the chaotic state of the world Maya observes at the beginning of their dialogue.
Yeah. If our systems are designed to cultivate cleverness without conscience, we really shouldn't be shocked by the messy state of the world. It's behaving exactly as designed.
Exactly. If you train a generation to be exceptionally clever, prioritize their ability to build powerful tools, and entirely neglect their capacity for moral restraint, of course things go off the rails.
So if you synthesize all of this, what happens if our power and our wisdom keep moving at these entirely different speeds? What's the logical conclusion?
The inevitable conclusion is that the future becomes exponentially more volatile. If power goes up on an elevator while wisdom takes the stairs, the gap between what we are capable of destroying and our ability to restrain ourselves eventually reaches a breaking point.
Man, so the sports car is pushing 200 miles an hour, the road is getting narrower, and the driver hasn't even bothered to look for the brakes.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
And this is where the dialogue in Time Traveler's Paradox forces a really profound reevaluation as they wrap up. Maya and Nick challenge us to redefine what it actually means to be an advanced society.
Because it's so easy to fall into technophobia here, right?
Yeah.
To just look at this mismatch and say, well, technology is the enemy.
Oh, for sure. But Maya explicitly rejects that. Technology is arguably humanity's greatest achievement. We shouldn't romanticize the past or, wish to return to a time before modern medicine or indoor plumbing.
Nobody actually wants that.
Right. The tools are not the crisis. The crisis is the imbalance.
So Nick and Maya, offer this ultimate metric for progress. They argue that a truly advanced civilization is not measured by the raw power it possesses. It's measured by how responsibly it chooses to use that power.
Which requires a massive structural shift in the questions we ask ourselves as a species. For the last 300 years, our defining question has been, what can we build? Nick and Maya suggest we desperately need to shift that to, what have we not yet learned?
What have we not yet learned? That's powerful. It requires us to admit that our internal world, our psychology, our moral reasoning has just as much uncharted frontier left to explore as outer space or quantum mechanics.
It implies that our greatest challenge in the 21st century is no longer inventing more powerful technologies. We've proven we can do that. The true challenge is becoming wise enough to deserve the technologies we have already created.
To become a species that actually deserves its own power. That is a heavy but incredibly necessary metric. And, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something that takes this intersection of ancient brains and modern tools and pushes it to its logical extreme.
Oh, let's hear it.
So we've spent this time exploring how human biology runs on Paleolithic software, right?
Right.
We are driven by the amygdala sphere and the dopamine system's insatiable appetite for status and tribal dominance.
Right.
And we've established that artificial intelligence is the ultimate amoral amplifier. We'll consider how modern AI models are actually trained. They learn how to process language, emulate reasoning, and predict behavior by scraping the internet.
Right, they're ingesting the entirety of human digital output.
Exactly. And what is the modern internet? It is a digital ecosystem algorithmically optimized to farm human engagement. It is a space fueled almost entirely by our amygdala-driven outrage, our tribal hostility, and our dopamine-seeking clicks.
Oh, wow. It is a perfect mirror of our most primitive biological reflexes.
Exactly. So the question is, are we currently hard-coding our own Paleolithic software directly into our most futuristic machines?
That is a chilling thought.
If we are building artificial intelligence that learns how to behave by observing a digital world structured around our most primitive, fear-based psychology, who's really steering the future? Is it the advanced tool, or is it the ancient, unexamined ghost in the machine?
That is precisely the kind of question a civilization prioritizing wisdom would demand an answer to before it writes another line of code.
Absolutely. So the next time you look around at our smartphones, our spaceships, and our medical miracles, don't just marvel at how we built them. Ask if we are finally ready to learn how to drive. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.